Singapore, the little village that turned out to be a global city. What if I tell you that whatever you see today was one day a mission impossible? The founding president had to weep for the state of his nation.
Will your mind ever stop for a while?
But today, Singapore has risen to become an economic powerhouse. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a detailed story of the rise of Singapore. Like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Long ago, before the skyscrapers and the bright lights, Singapore was a quiet island known as Temasek. It was a simple place, home to fishermen and traders, but one day, everything changed. A Sumatran prince, Sang Nila Utama, was sailing across the sea when a great storm struck. He had to make a choice, turn back or find land. He saw an island in the distance and ordered his men to row towards it. According to legend, as he explored the island, he saw a strange creature. It looked like a lion, strong and majestic. The prince took it as a sign of good fortune and named the land Singapura, the Lion City. Singapore was a small trading post. It was part of the powerful Malacca Sultanate and later the Johor Sultanate. Arab traders, Chinese merchants, and Indian spice traders all passed through exchanging goods like silk, spices, and gold. But Singapore's location made it valuable and dangerous. In the 1500s, the Portuguese attacked and took control. Later, the Dutch and the British fought over it. Each empire wanted Singapore for its own. In 1819, a British official named Sir Stamford Raffles arrived. He saw something no one else did. He believed Singapore could be the center of trade in Asia, but first he had to make a deal. He made an agreement with the local rulers, and soon Singapore became a British trading post. Ships from all over the world arrived bringing business and wealth. The population grew quickly from just a few hundred people to thousands. In just a few years, Singapore became a booming trade hub, but this was only the beginning. A much darker time was coming. In December 1941, World War II had reached Southeast Asia. The British thought Singapore was safe, protected by the sea, but they were wrong. The Japanese didn't attack from the sea, they came through the jungles of Malaysia. The British were not prepared. After just 7 days of battle, Singapore fell. Singapore was now under Japanese rule. The island was renamed Sionan II, Light of the South. But life became a nightmare. For 3 years, Singapore lived in fear. Thousands of people were killed, food was scarce, hope was fading. But in 1945, everything changed again. Japan surrendered, the war was over, Singapore was free again. But the damage was done. The people were tired of being ruled by outsiders. They wanted something new, independent. After World War II, Singapore was free from Japanese rule, but the island was in chaos. The economy was broken, jobs were few, and the people were angry. They no longer wanted to be ruled by the British. They wanted their own government. The British returned in 1945 and tried to rebuild, but the people were restless. Protests and strikes shook the land, and the demand for independence grew stronger. One man stood at the center of this movement, Kuan Yew, a lawyer, a visionary, and a man who had believed that Singapore could govern itself. In 1959, his party, the People's Actions Party, won the election. Singapore was now governing itself, but full independence was still out of reach. In 1963, there was hope for a brighter future. Singapore joined Malaysia, a new country that combined Malaya, Sabah, Sarawak, and Singapore. It seemed like the perfect solution, but within 2 years, everything fell apart. Singapore's union with Malaysia did not go as planned. There were deep political and racial tension. The Malaysian government feared that Singapore's economy would overpower theirs. In 1965, the unthinkable happened. Singapore was kicked out of Malaysia. On August 9, 1965, Singapore became an independent nation, but there was no celebration. Kuan Yew himself wept on a national television. Singapore had no army, no natural resources, and no certainty about the future. It was a tiny island alone in the world. Singapore had no choice. It had to survive. Kuan Yew and his team had a bold plan. They focused on 3 things: creating jobs, cleaning the city, uniting the people. First, Singapore opened its doors to foreign investors. Companies from America, Europe, and Japan came to set up factories. Thousands of new jobs were created. The economy began to grow. Second, the government launched a campaign to transform the city. Slums were cleared, trees were planted, and a new housing project were built. Singapore was becoming a modern city. Third, the government focused on racial harmony. In the past, ethnic tensions had caused riots, but Singapore passed strict laws to ensure that people of all races lived, studied, and worked together. A new national identity was born. From the 1970 to the 1990, Singapore economy exploded. The island became a center for banking, technology, and trade. People from all over the world came to do business here. Singapore was no longer just a small island, it was now a global city. Today, Singapore is one of the most successful nations. It has one of the strongest economy, one of the best education systems, and it is ranked as one of the safest countries in the world. A Singaporean passport can take you to more places than almost any other passport in the world. The city is a hub of finance, tourism, and innovation. But what makes Singapore truly special is its people, the resilience, the discipline, and the ability to dream big. This is what turned a tiny island into a global powerhouse. From a fishing village to a modern metropolis, from war and hardship to peace and prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of Singapore. Like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell. This is told by Lanise. Keep it here.